Oh, hey. It's just a dark, rainy day, and so I thought I would, snuggle up with a book. And, I heard recently about Prima Games closing, and so it got me nostalgic, for my game guide, my Prima guide. Hello, this is Joshua, your fatherly muffin, and today I have something in the Aidyn Chronicles lineup here, but it's completely different than gameplay. It's this! Yeah, Prima Official Strategy Guide, because you gotta get that strategy going. For Aidyn Chronicles, the First Mage. This is it. Probably bought this in 2002. Game came out 2001. It's been an eon ago now, I know. 2002. Picked this up because, well, there wasn't any other information around. You have to put yourself back in that time. If you're young and you're not going to remember, if you're my age, you probably will. But even back then, even though there was internet, you probably weren't going to find any strategy guide, any walkthroughs, anything like that online. So you had to go to the store. If you couldn't drive, you had to get your parents to drive you to the store and buy with money a book. I know. Totally weird. Not anything that we would think about doing today. Probably why Prima is going out of business. I'm sorry to see them go. It's a cool, glossy book. This was very nice back in the day. But I can see why they're not doing well now. However, I'm just going to take you through this a little bit, if that's okay with you. Don't worry, I'll take some close-ups for y'all. You're not going to miss out on any of the action. First of all, cover, classic. It's the same as what's on the N64 cartridge. It's the same artwork. I don't know, they weren't breaking any ground there. What's in a name? Prima, I guess is what they were talking about. There's the back cover. I think this was supposed to pull you in to buy it. I'm not absolutely certain, but it does seem that way. And let's talk, before we get inside the book, let's talk about something real quick. This MSRP, now you probably can't see it from there, but this says MSRP $14.99, right? Here's my Best Buy sticker, because I did go to the store, a real store, in real life, walk in and purchase a book for a video game, and I paid $14.99 for it. $15 for a book. Yeah, $15 doesn't sound like that much today, but this was for a walkthrough for a video game, something you would never think of doing today. Crazy. It's amazing how much things have changed. But let me read you a little bit out of here as well. Here's an introduction to Aidyn Chronicles, the First Mage. Aidyn Chronicles, the First Mage is the first true 3D role-playing game, RPG, for the Nintendo 64. If you're strictly an N64 gamer, you might not be familiar with RPGs. And you probably weren't. There were hardly any. There was Quest 64 was a real RPG. Legend of Zelda, those are pretty RPG. No XP given, but you choose things. It's not completely linear. But they're having to, in the first paragraph of this magazine, they're telling you what kind of game this is. That's how rudimentary it goes. And rather than depending on split-second timing and precise control, most RPGs require more strategy to succeed. Well, it's a good thing we have the strategy guide then, isn't it? And we paid $15 for like half the price of the game. Something like, yeah. You want to talk about how expensive games are now? $60 for a game. No, don't complain. Games were like $40 back then for a new game. I remember I had to wait. I had to wait for like 6 months before I could afford the game on my own. I was a poor kid. I think most of us were. Yeah, you probably understand where I'm coming from with that. So don't be crying about your $60 game now. That's why they have freaking DLC. That's why AAA games have 400 DLCs that cost $20 each. That's another video. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get off the tirade here. About this book. The strategy guide addresses every aspect of Aidyn Chronicles. Each chapter of the walkthrough begins with a list of the enemies you'll likely encounter. If your party isn't up to snuff, fight some weaker enemies for gold and experience points. Groundbreaking. Purchase better equipment and or train your party in new skills before you enter the next act. And yeah, you really did. Thinking back to my first playthrough, absolutely, there are some locations you really should just grind it out. Reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy VII in that regard. You take your party members out and you level them all up so that you can, not die. We'll get to that detail in just a minute here. This is all boring stuff, but look at this. So this is 2 pages of the book. First 2 pages are talking about the game and why you bought this appendium to it. Here, a beginner's guide. That's what we want. Let's pretend we're beginners. What are we going to find out? And actually, not bad artwork here either. Look at this. Not bad artwork. Pretty good. For 2001, it's not bad. Here's all your... I'm not going to read everything out of here, but friendly faces. There are 13 characters. Wow. I don't remember there being that many, but it has to be because they're in this book. I mean, this is the official book right here. Give them... Here, this is a good one. This goes into why Aidyn Chronicles is actually more of a unique game than one might remember. Because right here, you start to get an inkling of what's happening. You can only have 4 characters in your party at a time. This is written in the book, which is true. I mean, 3 plus Alaren. Alaren being the main character. If you haven't seen my other videos, go back and watch it. I'll talk about Alaren a lot. Some, such as Rada, might require a little persuasion to join you. Others, such as a Brecken, are ready to help after you've asked. This part, though, because you can only have 4 characters in your party, you want to give each one of them some serious consideration. Yes, you do. Now, this is what I know. Without going through and literally reading page by page on the characters. Some characters, once they join your party, will never leave unless they die. They have to expire, shuffle off their mortal coil before they leave your party. And others, if you don't collect them right away, never join. Not even once. If you're interested in spoilers, hey, you can go to eBay and buy this right now. If you want, it's actually not that far off of $15 if you really are that interested. Or I'm sure you can go online and find out all that information. But to give you a little bit, I mean, here's some of the artwork, some of our characters that you can play with, because you always play as Alaren, or whatever you name him. Name him, pro tip, name him My Dude. My Dude is a good name for him, because then they're like, hey, what's up, my dude? It's awesome. Do that and have a good laugh. And then they go through the menus. That's boring. Now here's some interesting stuff. And I touched on this briefly first episode. The battle system. Knowing how to fight is the only thing between you and annihilation. Or at least a good deal of frustrated restarting. Here, we'll take a look at the character's abilities and the elements that affect battles. And then they go through all of your like intelligence, dexterity, stamina, what all that kind of stuff means. Skills and magic. And it tells you, it's literally going to hold your hands. Not sponsored, Prima Games, but if you want, you're going out of business, but I mean, this book is very helpful, actually, especially before the internet could tell you anything. Environmental effects and altitude. Oh, that's another thing. So this is, to back up, Aidyn Chronicles is a role-playing game that is also turn-based battle. Now, if you've never played a turn-based battle game, you go into a lot of strategy because you're taking like Dungeons and Dragons. Each character has their turn, and that turn-based system can really affect how you fight, because you're not just going in there like Dragon Age Inquisition style, like blasting everybody. No, you have to really think about it. You have to think, do I have the components for this spell, and who am I going to cast it on? Should I get in between these characters to tank? What is this enemy going to do when it's their turn? Things like that. And the environment, the altitude, attacking the front or back of an enemy, distance, all those have effects on the battle, and it can turn the tide. And then it goes into, now that's all very useful information. And then this is what, I don't really get into this too much, because when I play a game, I don't need to know every single secret. Some things I like to find out for myself, so this, for me, even back in the day, didn't get read that much. But this is like, shows you a map, all your, where every treasure is. Like I said, I like a little surprise, so I didn't go for that too much, but if you wanted, back then in 2001, 2002, you could do that. Now here's something interesting I really wanted to talk about here that I think is extremely unique. This is unique to almost any game I've ever played. Hit points and taking damage. And I'll just read you the excerpt out of this book here. Each character can take a certain amount of punishment before giving up the ghost. Morbid, right? Each character's hardiness is measured in hit points. There we go, breaking the mold again. Represented by a colored bar next to the character's portrait in combat. Every time an enemy strikes a character, or a trap is triggered, the character takes a certain number of HP worth of damage. If the character's hit points reach 0, that character dies. Dies. And there's no resurrection in Aidyn Chronicles. Wow. So if you've ever played, one of the biggest games back in the day, Final Fantasy VII, if your character died, you could get a miracle. Like you could wish them back, basically, from the dead. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, same thing. You can pray to the gods for them to come back to life, or study really hard and bring them back from the dead. In Aidyn Chronicles, no, it's like real life. They're gone, buddy. If you let one of your companions go to 0 hit points, that's it. That's it. They're done forever. They will never come back. And that's it. You got to find a new character. So it's a good thing to have 13 of them. Because if one goes, you're stuck, and then now you, instead of a party of 4, you've only got a party of 3, and that's going to be really difficult. So, and then it goes for the rest of the book. It's more of what I was saying before, the maps and find treasures. You know, that's not such a big deal to me. Maybe to some people. Now here's, if you are very nerdy and you like stats and you like going through things with your, I was going to say bifocals, but you might need binoculars for this one. I don't know, a microscope. Here's your appendices. Appendices. Appendix A, skills and spells. They list every skill, every spell, every potion, every item, every weapon. This goes on and on and on. There's several, there's not just one page of this. Several pages. Several pages. It goes in depth. And then, yeah, finally, you get to the end, you know, monsters and enemies. This is good stuff to know. Tells you what aspect they are. I think I mentioned this briefly. Everybody is either lunar or solar aspected, and that affects all of your stats, skills, how a battle is going to go. It's raining outside today, IRL, while filming. That would have an effect in Aidyn Chronicles. If it's raining, you have disadvantage, and some people don't. Interesting. Let's take a little bit of. We're already in the Wayback Machine, but let's look at some advertisements here real quick. Scooby-Doo, classic creep capers. It was on the N64 and the Game Boy Color. Can't imagine that was a great N64 game. A Game Boy Color, maybe. I don't, you know. Yeah, it could be alright. Evil Dead, Hail to the King. Wow. Now, this is just advertising their own book. It's not advertising the game necessarily, just their book, Prima Games, a strategy guide. And then they had the Ultimate Code Book. Yep, that was their advertisement back here in the back. And then they also had, interestingly, so you know where I said that really there wasn't anything to find or anything to be found online. You know, you could probably find some free stuff if you searched long enough. You know, you went to the 5th or 6th page of search results, you may find something on Alta Vista. If you remember Alta Vista, you know what I'm talking about. But here's an advertisement for actually primagames.com. They had a website. So there you go. And so that's the whole book. I just wanted to kind of take you through it, because this is something that's dying. You guys, these aren't going to be around. You're no longer going to be able to go to an actual store in real life and buy a book to tell you how to play a game. It's the end of an era. Miss you. Nah, I won't. Google's much better. Well, you guys, this has been Joshua, your fatherly muffin. If I do any more about Aidyn Chronicles, it won't be about a book. Don't worry. So if you didn't like this, give me a thumbs down, let me know. And then thumbs up those gameplay videos, and we'll definitely have some more of those. So I really wish you a good night. Bye.
Fatherly muffins are coming for you. Fatherly muffins are honest and true. They'll sing you a story and tell you a song, but they don't know much, so it will not take long.